I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the Village Board on Monday, January 17th at 7 p.m. in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom and also can be accessed via WebEx. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all village board members present. At this time, I'll ask us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag, States of America, Republic for which it stands, nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Next item is President's Report. A couple things to report tonight. First is a reminder that there is a listening session scheduled for the public to come and give comments or recommendations about the Germantown Richfield Sewer and Water Extension. And that will be held on January 27th at the Germantown High School PAC. And it starts at 6 p.m. and it gives opportunity for all those that are within Germantown or Richfield boundaries to come forward and give your input, your comments, your concerns, or recommendations about the Germantown Richfield sewer and water extension possibility. Right now, it's in a memorandum of understanding. It's not into any agreement, but we would like input so that if things need to be added or other considerations need to be looked at, in addition, we would appreciate, and we would also like that as a temperature check as to what people's thoughts are about that possibility of extending sewer and water services from Germantown into Richfield. So all are invited, and I welcome any and all who want to come, and hopefully it'll be well attended so we can get lots of input about that topic. The next thing I'd like to do is turn the meeting over for a couple minutes to the village administrator to give an update on the Briggs and Stratton building. There's been some discussion. There's been some rumors. I've been contacted by several reporters to give me get my comments about what I feel about what's happening there. And I think we just want to kind of give an update of what we know for sure and kind of dispel any other rumors that or concerns that might be out there. So, Steve.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I think quite a few members of the community, including trustees, saw news reports from a couple of local sources regarding Briggs and Stratton ending their operations at their facility on Holy Hill Road. Actually, this is an item that has been in process for some time. Shortly after Briggs and Stratton declared Chapter 11, they did start talking with both the owner of the property that they lease out on Holy Hill Road, Zilber Corporation, and they did have some preliminary conversations with the Village of Germantown staff about their long-term plans. We didn't have a final date on when those operations would be finalized until we saw the same reports in the news that all of you did. I believe that the timing of that was a report that they're required to file with the state of Wisconsin, that companies that have represented employees are required to file with the state of Wisconsin when work locations are closed. So that's probably what drove the timing of that particular report. Briggs and Stratton is closing down some business lines as part of their Chapter 11 process, and it affects some products that are shipped, stored, and distributed at the Holy Hill facility. The immediate question is basically, well, what impact does this have on Germantown? The first fact to keep in mind is that Briggs and Stratton does not actually own that building. They were leasing it from Zilber Company when it was constructed. And although the business line that Briggs and Stratton were moving away from were not profitable, the facility itself is a very large, kind of a rare, difficult to find, state-of-the-art, industrial facility that's on a very good location. I talked with several of the developers in the area and some other economic development specialists to try to get a sense of what that may mean for development in that area. Um, the, uh, the general consensus was that the building would likely be leased out relatively quickly. It was actually purchased from Zilber by a real estate investment trust company, Exeter Real Estate Investments, last summer for a price that was nearly 50% over assessed value. So the building, at least the market is indicating, still has a lot of value, and that leads me to believe that it will likely be a new occupant will likely be found relatively quickly. I also talked with 3 developers who have projects underway in that very business park. Capstone, Quadrangle, Zilber, and Dickman Corporation all stated that they felt that there was still they were going to continue to go forward with their construction projects as planned. They still feel that that's a very hot area for that type of real estate development, and even with the building that is currently leased by Briggs going back on the market, that there would be the supply of space in that business park was not was less than what the demand is. So all 3 are going ahead with new construction projects starting this year.
Okay. Any questions? No? Thank you for the update. I appreciate it. That's all I have under President's report, so we can go on to the next item, which is announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports. We'll start with committee reports and committee chairs with Trustee Kaminsky.
Public Works will meet in this room on February 8th, which is a Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Trustee Miller.
General Government and Finance will meet on February 21st in this boardroom at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Trustee Myers.
Mr. President, the next public safety meeting will be on the 7th of February at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else for announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports they'd like to bring forward? Trustee Chan Miller.
Thank you. I would like to inform everyone that there is a Germantown Community Library survey available. The Germantown Community Library is developing a new strategic plan to prepare for the next 5 years, and we're asking for the community-wide participation. As part of the process, we are evaluating current services offered such as materials and programs, partnerships, technology, quiet study places, and community meeting rooms. To help us gather the information to plan our future, the library is conducting a community survey. Your input is vital to helping the library shape its services to meet the needs of all residents in the local area, including Germantown, Richfield, and Jackson. So the survey is going to run through Monday, February 7th, and can be accessed at SurveyMonkey/r/Germantown CL survey. Paper copies are also available at the library. And if you go on the Germantown Library website, it's right on the front page, and you can just click the icon and complete the survey. And as a thank you for completing the survey, participants will be entered in a drawing to win one of 10 $25 gift certificates to Amazon. So we'd appreciate anybody that would be interested in giving us some feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else for announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports? Okay, we can go on to the next item, which is citizen input for public appearance on items not subject to a public hearing. There are no public hearings on tonight's agenda. So we also have listed anybody that wishes to come forward for any ARPA funding recommendations they'd like to bring forward. But before we ask any members of the audience or who are listening to us online to have their input, I have a few things to read of communications that we received via email. And the first one says, my name is Danny Ho. I live at West 148 North 10224, Windsong Circle East here in Germantown. I would like to ask the village board to provide via the ARPA funding the amount of $300,000 for the architectural design of the proposed mezzanine addition to the Germantown Community Library. Also, the amount of $100,000 to expand the current outside patio space, including a canopy for library programs. This is in conjunction to the COVID issues where outside gathering spaces are safer than gathering inside. Thank you for your considerations, Danny Ho. And that was sent today, Monday, January 17th. The next one I have says, I've been extremely supportive of improving library service for over 25 years, and I wholeheartedly support using ARPA funds for the design work for the second floor and improvement to the outdoor space surrounding the library. The discussion 20-some years ago is that the library wasn't needed anymore and wouldn't be used. Needless to say, that is not the case. Not even close. Our library has morphed into something different than it was, and with the COVID pandemic, more needed than we ever knew. We like to think that we are very well off in this community, but with the push for everything to be online, internet, we sometimes forget those who don't have access to home computer, internet access, and library materials because they can't afford or live on a fixed income. Before COVID, I asked a school district representative how many families they thought did not have access to the internet. They felt about 15%. That's scary when everything to do with school is going online. There are still tons of people who come to the library looking for tax documents every year, even though the push is to do it online. Our library is the only portal for those less fortunate, those who do not have, and those that can't afford. Our library is there for those who wish to improve themselves, looking for help, take classes online, and one of the few public places to apply for jobs. Our library is full. The demand for service has not gone down over the years, but it has changed. More meeting rooms, more programming, more study rooms, and more quiet space is needed. We have this opportunity to complete the library project, so let's do it. And that's thanks from Darlene Vazen, located at North 105, West 17134, Old Farm Road. The next communication I have states to Dean Walter and Jolene Pieper specifically, but also for the rest of the village board. I am writing this email to encourage support for the request from the Germantown Library Board for $400,000 of the $2.1 million of ARPA funding to be designated for the second floor expansion of the Germantown Community Library. I've been a proud supporter and user of the library since my husband and I were married, moving into Germantown. Had our daughter, taught her to read, helped her with school research projects during her time in Germantown School District, and now in our retirement years. I can remember going to story time in the library building that is now the Village Police Department when our daughter was young, and have enjoyed the current building so much. A library is about books, but it can be so much more. Let me tell you what happened during 2020 and 2021. I was employed as a temporary greeter during the time period from October 2020 to July 2021 during the initial months of the COVID pandemic. What I'd like to share with you is my on-site experience during that time is the awakening of what the library can provide to users. The current library director, Tricia Smith, was instrumental in finding ways to keep the library engaged and active during the lockdowns and after. While the library is all about books, the Library Express service opened my eyes to authors I would not have thought of trying. The pickup option allowed users to continue to read while safely obtaining books if they chose this option. And the library was able to continue to offer on-site services while others were closed. In addition, during that time, craft kits, STEAM kits, recipe kits, movie theme kits, coloring sheets, and crossword puzzle sheets were added and were also very popular. Many times we ran out of supplies before noon on the days that they were available. People were so grateful to share these with their kids, grandkids, and neighbors. I can't tell you how many times we had to recopy the coloring and crossword puzzle sheets as they were so popular with all the ages. This time period from October 2020 to July 2021 became a time when the library expanded its outreach services to the community, and now these services have expanded so much that the library is actually able to have a community outreach employee as part of their staff. Building a second floor to the library can help the library offer so much more. While I am not privy to what they are planning at this time, I am hoping that they can expand the children's area to offer more reading time and fun entertainment with ample room. I hope they can provide more services and programs to teens who need somewhere to go and something to do off their electronic devices and learn what the library can offer them outside of school. I am also hoping that adults will have more resources and speaker presentations to help them in either planning for their future, a family vacation, or aid them in making better financial decisions. I hope that nonprofit organizations can have ample meeting space since so many meet in crowded coffee shops to plan their community services. I am hoping that groups like the Germantown Community Coalition can offer presentations on important topics that will help to foster community spirit. And for old folks like me, I hope they continue to offer presentations on important and fun topics that keep our minds engaged and crafts that keep our hands busy. I am also looking forward to some new things that I haven't thought about. A second floor can help the library expand its current summer programs and outdoor presentations when either the weather does not cooperate or when the traffic noise is so loud that you can't hear the presentation. Unfortunately, we have experienced that personally. I know Tricia Smith has her pulse on ideas and has really been instrumental in bringing the Germantown Community Library to a new life in the last 5 years. Please help that to continue by supporting their library board's request for $400,000 to expand to a second floor. It will be an investment that all the community can benefit from. While I know there will be many requests for other equally important items, please consider the broad reach this project will have on the residents of the village of Germantown. And this is from Catherine Plank, who's located at North 108 West 16400 Carriage Avenue. That's all the communications that I've received in regards to citizen input and public appearance. If there is anyone in the audience who is joining us via WebEx that would like to come forward at this time to bring other topics or any suggestions for ARPA funding at this time, you're welcome to do so. All I would ask is you come to the podium or state your cause to the monitor of WebEx. But if you're in the audience, come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. Is there anyone wishing to come forward?
All right, hi. My name is Krista Potratz, and I, full disclosure, am a library board member, but I'm also the president of Moms Club of Germantown and a mother of 4. And so I would just like to speak on those parts of what I represent tonight. I have 4 children. My youngest is 20 months old, and she is pretty cute. She'll come up and hand you a book, and she'll open it up and show you all the animal noises and everything. And she does this because she was literally being read to the day she was brought home from the hospital. Books are just a part of my family, and kindergartner was reading to her the day she came home. And we are always at the library and love the library. And the library, like what was being spoken to earlier, was just a tremendous asset during the pandemic. But just so you know, 5 years ago, the Germantown Moms Club started an initiative to improve the children's area of the library because the children's area was not at all on par with other children's areas in surrounding cities and communities. And the libraries just aren't either. With just Germantown, the way it is expanding and all of the young families moving to Germantown, the library just, it becomes a central place for these families of young children. And so I would just really ask you, or just really want to state that the the library can be used for all people, and even Germantown's youngest citizens. And so I just ask you on behalf of them, especially to consider the funds that the library is requesting. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to provide input or citizen input or public appearance or any recommendations for ARPA funding?
Hello, I am Katie Fidel. I live at W175 North 10300 Stone Ridge Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here to talk about, of course, the Germantown Community Library. This morning, actually, I was sitting down to write this speech, and I had a library book next to me called Ages and Stages, because I have a 3-year-old, and we're in the throes of the terrible threes right now. So, of course, I have to check out a book from the library about how to navigate this toddler time. But the book made me think about how really how the library could be transformed into meeting every age and stage of life. So as I said, I have a 3-year-old son, and I also have a 7-year-old son. So it's pretty rare that I get to go to the library by myself and get to read a book. So it just so happens last week that I actually got to do this, but unfortunately I heard the cries and screams of other children while I was reading, because the echoing of screams was filling the tall ceilings of the library, and it made me wish, I wish that there were separate spaces for the adults and the children, because we each have distinct needs. Every Tuesday, I bring my toddler to the library. We spend the majority of time near adults, as he is either playing on the computer or, unfortunately, running laps around the library. I feel bad for both the adults that we are undoubtedly bothering, and for my son, who is trying to grow and learn. Myself and other Germantown families visit the Menominee Falls or the Pauline Haas Library in Sussex, as they each create unique separate spaces for adults and children. I urge you to allocate funds to the Germantown Community Library to not only create an exceptional children's literacy area, but to establish us as a destination library for every age and stage. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance or for recommendations for ARPA funding? Anyone else wishing to come forward? Is there anyone available or recommending or requesting online? All right. If there is no one else, we can go on to the next item on the agenda, which would be consent agenda. Board?
Motion to approve A through U.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve consent agenda items A through U. Is there any discussion on that motion to approve? Trustee Pieper? Q and R? We don't usually go through them. The current recommendation is to approve them all unless you'd like to pull some of the items. Thank you.
Q and R.
Yes.
Thank you.
Further discussion? I'd like to pull T.
P.
Any other discussion? There's no further discussion. We'll do a roll call vote for items A through U minus Q, R, and T.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Rick Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Baum? Trustee Hudson?
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky? Trustee Jan Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Neidreiter?
Aye.
Trustee Pieper? Aye. President Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. So we'll go to the first item that was pulled, which is item Q, which is the job description update for water utility foreman designated operator. Trustee Pieper.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions. So it's job description updates. Well, what is it updated from? Where's the previous description? Is this a new job that is being created? Is this job already filled? Is this job going to be posted? Is somebody already working this job and they're getting a promotion?
This came up through general government finance. Trustee Rick Miller, any answers to Trustee Pieper's question?
I'm going to defer to Erin. She'll say it a lot better.
Thank you. Okay, so for job description for the water utility foreman designated operator, so this is a current employee, and it's promoting his role to the designated operator, and it's taking him out of the DPW union and it's putting him into an exempt position because it falls within that category. This was also placed into the budget. Being at the grade level that it's at. So his grade level really wouldn't change, but now he's becoming an exempt employee instead of a non-exempt employee.
So was the position posted or it was just automatically granted to this individual? Was there
It's
any opportunity for anybody else for the job?
No, it's basically what this individual is currently doing. So it just changed the job title and it updated what he was doing from his
So was
previous
was
job
there
description.
a raise?
Yes, there was a slight raise, but it stayed within the pay grades of his current position.
So he wasn't moved up a level.
No.
Okay, and the same thing goes for the maintenance shop foreman? Is that the same thing?
Yes, so for the maintenance shop foreman, so this was discussed before I started. It was a position, a person who is in this position, they're trying to get 3 mechanics, so one just moved up a level so that they are now managing, because it's basically the person who's under Scott.
I just have a hard time of these positions being created specifically
not
with certain
created.
people in mind and not allowing others to try to apply for it and not having these positions posted.
These positions were put into place to kind of help with succession planning. So it's helping to get others in the position and ready to take over when the time comes.
They're being created specifically for a certain person in mind, it seems like.
Not necessarily, because these job duties are already being performed. It's just updating their job description.
But also giving them a raise.
Yes, giving them a slight raise in certain situations.
I feel
Scott,
like that puts other people who are working there at an unfair, it puts us, they have an unfair advantage for, you're updating their job description and giving them a raise. I have a hard time being okay with that. I think it should have been posted. It should have been a job posted. And if anybody else wanted to apply for it and get a raise, and I know there's people that work in this village that feel like they were very qualified for these positions and they weren't even given the opportunity to even apply for them.
so going back to the water utility foreman position, this is the job description basically states what this person is currently doing. So it's not like it's a new job, like it's something new. He's already been doing it. It's just changing his job title and making him an exempt employee instead of a non-exempt
And I
employee to
understand
be
that.
in line with federal standards. Scott's here. He can talk a little bit more. He can probably explain his
No, I
position a little
understand
better.
everything you just said. I still don't agree with it.
Any other discussion or any questions on items Q and R of consent agenda? Then we would need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve items Q and R as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion to approve? Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Baum,
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky, Trustee Myers,
Aye.
Trustee Nightrider,
Aye.
Trustee Pieper,
No.
Trustee Hudson,
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item on consent agenda that was pulled was item T. I'm just looking for some background and information on what occurred and what the discussion was through public safety for the approval of bartender license application Flynn Waller, which was originally recommended for denial. Trustee Myers?
Mr. President, the individual in question was at the meeting per se and presented himself and in regard to his plans accordingly as such, and with the business that they were going to buy, the would have had to have this restriction removed from him. So they would have enough, people could both be working together with the hours. They wouldn't have to hire another individual.
I can add to that.
Please.
Mr. Wohler just recently purchased a tavern in Germantown with his brother. They are currently remodeling it. I do believe it is open already. He had a felony that he committed when he was 17 and charged as an adult. I think he had a speeding ticket in almost 18 years, and that's it. His crime wasn't related to alcohol at all. And he is an owner, which actually he doesn't even need to apply for this because he's an owner and therefore is able to serve liquor on premise since he owns it. Yeah, you can look it up. So
Go
it's
ahead.
moot anyway, but we did all approve it on the Public Safety Committee, and he was told at the Public Safety Committee meeting that this wasn't going to go to the village board, and he was allowed his bartender's license that day.
How he was told that he was allowed it without going to the village board for final consent?
She meant under consent order, it would go to the village board. But here again, somebody could actually do, as you did this evening, pull it for additional
So
information.
he really doesn't get approval in the license until we approve it?
And he was told that it wasn't coming here.
Why? That's not,
Because it was told that if it passed Public Safety Committee meeting unanimously, that it would not go to the village board.
village attorney?
Obviously, I can't speak to what happened. I wasn't at the meeting, but certainly that would not be standard practice. They always come here.
As I thought they had, what, he was told this though? By whom?
I'd have to listen to the meeting.
Okay. All right, just so we're not passing misinformation to those that apply for licenses. Trustee Hudson?
Concern.
The offenses in question were in 2006 or 2007. And he has had a clean record since that time. They were opioid related offenses. There has been no relapse into that. The brother that he's opening the bar with is I believe, retired Air Force captain, and will be running the bar with him.
Okay.
They also live on site.
Okay.
And the other thing, Mr. President, a lot of times when we have these different things that come before the committee, the individual, after getting a letter from the police department, which is standard procedure to deny, are reluctant to come before the committee. So we really appreciate them coming to the committee so we can hear their story to go along with it.
It's a good
Which is what
point.
this individual did along with his brother.
Very good and valid point, Trustee Myers. Thank you for that.
In,
Trustee Chan Miller?
in addition to that, his brother showed up as well. So those are the two owners for the new bar, and they were very grateful. And,
Okay.
It's good to see people come forward.
I appreciate those that come and can explain and represent themselves in case there are questions. So I appreciate that very much. Any further information?
Sure, just one more thing.
Mhm.
It's an automatic denial from the police department, just so everybody knows. It's not there is no judgment there. He has to recommend denying the license.
Correct. Thank you. All right, then we would need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve item T as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve?
So motion to approve his denial or motion to approve he gets
It's-
the license?
Right now, it is an approval of bartender license as listed under consent agenda. Originally, it was a denial, but now it's on the agenda for approval.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. It takes care of all items under consent agenda. Next item on the agenda is new business, starting with new business item A patrol truck commitment with Truck Country. Give us more background information on this. We have the Director of Public Works. Not really. We have the Director of Highways, Scott Anderson. Sorry, didn't mean to.
It's all good. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, good evening, everybody. This came out of committee, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think there was some general support for it. But we're looking to make some commitments that are going to affect some different financing for this year. And I think they felt that it was important that we brought that here. So I've got some notes here about the problem at hand and basically some general operation notes that I'd like to share with you. If it sounds scripted, it is, because I didn't want to miss anything. If there are questions related to how we're going to fund this, I think Administrator Krecklow might be able to help answer those. Due to supply chain issues and with limited availability and normal demand, there is a shortage of patrol truck chassis, which, while budgeted for, leave the village without a truck chassis to purchase in 2022. These are our plow trucks, just as a clarifier. Our newest and oldest truck are out in the lot if you'd like to take a look at them after the meeting. In order to correct the 2022 purchasing issue and ensure we have the best possible chance to purchase a patrol truck in 2023, staff is requesting the ability to make a verbal commitment to Truck Country when the purchasing window opens in 2022. Some important points. Annually, at least one patrol truck is budgeted for and purchased, although there are budget cycles where 2 patrol trucks are requested in the same year. Any capital equipment purchase, including patrol trucks, is part of the department's 10-year capital equipment outlay. Just to give you a little information on the purchasing timeline, when we budget for a truck, it's the chassis is purchased from a Western Star dealer early in the calendar year. The truck chassis is delivered within 7 to 8 months, and the chassis alone is paid for. The truck chassis is then taken to Burke Truck and Equipment or the equipment installation, and final delivery takes place 8 to 10 months later. The equipment and equipment installation are paid for directly to Burke Truck and Equipment as part of that final delivery. The average amount of time from ordering a truck to the village having a useful piece of equipment on the road averages about 18 months. The village currently operates 14 street plowing routes. This means that a patrol truck spends 14 years as a lead truck. After being a lead truck for 14 years, it spends about 3 years as a spare before leaving our fleet at 17 to 18 years old. While well maintained, these trucks operate in a corrosive environment and perform a demanding task, which takes a toll on the vehicle. I found this to be very interesting. We went down and saw the local Western Star dealer, Truck Country, when we ran into this issue. And they shared with us that last year in 2021, they had 83 trucks of similar specification that they were able to sell to people in need around them. This year, they had 9 vehicles available to sell from the manufacturer, and they're all currently committed to others, again, leaving the village without a vehicle to purchase this year. We do have a verbal commitment from Truck Country that if they have 2 trucks available for order in 2022, that both would be committed to Germantown. There's no document confirming their commitment, nor are they asking the village for a written commitment. Everything at this point is verbal. I do, however, feel that their commitment to Germantown would take place, as we've purchased from Truck Country 9 of the last 10 years that we've made these purchases. Please be aware that there will be no money changing hands for the purchase of the truck chassis until they are physically delivered to the village sometime in 2023. And there is also a budget shortfall, which we'd be trying to cover here as well. And that budget shortfall is for several reasons. There was a model year, or a model change, I should say, implemented by the manufacturer. Of course, there is a general annual increase for the truck chassis itself. There was a raw material, and then of course there's a general increase for the equipment package from Burke Truck and Equipment. While the request that we're making tonight is slightly abnormal for the purchase of a patrol truck, I did want to draw a correlation to something that we do that's similar and has a similar timeline. Each year we purchase road salt through the state bidding process. That commitment is made in April, budgeted for in November, and then purchased in the following calendar year. So there are other instances where the village does do something similar to this. And again, I think I stated this earlier, but there is a slight change to the recommendation between the Public Works Committee meeting and the board here tonight, and it has more to do with the funding. But staff recommends amending the 2022 adopted budget to include the price of both trucks for a total of $460,000 to commit to Truck Country for the purchase of 2 Western Star patrol trucks. This would cover us for both our purchase that we should have made this year, and again, looking ahead to make sure we're not in the same boat again next year. Happy to answer any questions anybody would have.
Board?
Motion to approve new business A.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, so this did come through Public Works, and this is a little bit different. We thought it was going to be in a future budget year, and that's why I said it needed to go to the village, the full village board. If we amend this budget, how does that affect our balancing of the budget here?
I'll take that one. And actually, I think as the superintendent at Highways Building and Ground, I talked about this a little bit further. I think probably the correct way to do this is to actually amend the 2022 budget so that there is the authority, the budgetary authority to commit to buying this. And in essence, what we'd be doing is accelerating the one we would have budgeted in 23 into 2022. And then we won't budget a truck in 2023. It won't have any impact on balancing the budget because these are items that we finance through general obligation borrowing. And with the timing of the acquisition, under a normal year, we would have included the one truck that was originally budgeted in 22 in the spring general obligation bond issuance. Since we won't be, as Scott mentioned, paying anything until 2023, we'll reduce what we borrow in 2022 and then borrow for both trucks in 2023. So in essence, it actually does save a little bit of money on the tax levy this year because we'll be borrowing less and the debt service will be a little bit lower. And after 2023, we'll end up about where we would have been to begin with.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Mr. President, it was mentioned in regard to amending it before for the 460,000, I think it was the amount. So I would include that in my motion then.
That's all right with the second?
Yes.
So, Trustee Baum.
So we understand the truck that we were supposed to buy this year, we've already borrowed for. We have not borrowed for. We have it in a budget, but we haven't.
And I'm talking about 2022, not 2021. So as of January of 2022, there's one truck in the budget.
Yes.
Under normal circumstances, we would have placed an order for that truck now and then borrowed the money in March. The truck would have been delivered late in the year, and then we would have paid for it out of the proceeds from borrowing. Since there are no trucks available in 22, but the company that sells the trucks is saying they want an earlier commitment because they're anticipating a shortage in 23 as well. What I'm suggesting is we put budgetary authority for 2 trucks this year. Then we can put an order in for 2 trucks. We know we won't be getting delivery of them until 23. So we won't borrow at all for these 2 trucks in 22. We'll borrow for both trucks in 23. We'll get delivery in late 23 and we'll pay out of those 2023 proceeds from borrowing.
Okay. And with the comments that I've heard in the news that there are going to be 4 rate increases during 2022, should we not actually go ahead and borrow the money in 2022, put it in a bank for one of the trucks, and then borrow for the other truck in a year? Because we don't know what the interest rate's going to be.
Generally, I recommend not, that it's not a good idea in generally for local governments to try to time markets. And there are also limitations. It's been a long time since anybody's had to use this phrase, arbitrage, but it is, since interest rates have been so low, but the federal government does prohibit local governments from basically borrowing money at a low interest rate and then investing it at a higher interest rate. That is against federal IRS regulations. And so there's limits, and like I said, it's been a long time since anybody's had to worry about it, but generally the best practice is borrow the money when we need it, and don't trust somebody like me to try to time the markets.
Just, that's all I was.
All right.
Further discussion, trustee Jan Miller.
Yes. My question is, if we don't have anything in writing, how do you know you're going to get a truck? The demand for this particular company, if I heard you correctly, was 83 trucks, and they only got 9. And what do we have in writing that's going to put Germantown in the front of the line for 2? Are we looking at other suppliers? There's a supply issue all over the place.
Yeah. We don't have anything in writing. Again, they're not asking for anything in writing from us. What I feel we're banking on here is the relationship that we've created with Truck Country. There are 2 other Western Star dealers in the area. There's one in Madison and there's one in Fond du Lac. We've purchased once in 10 years from Fond du Lac. We've purchased no times from Madison. And again, when these vendors, when these dealerships are dealing with people, I think they're going to take care of the people that normally purchase from them in Fond du Lac and normally purchase from them in Madison, which is why I'd like to hitch our wagon to the people that we normally deal with right here in our area. Again, we could be at this time next year and they could have no trucks available. That's a possibility. We're not going to be out any money at that point. We won't have paid for them, and we're going to be in a very different boat, because now we're going to have to start looking at operations and figuring out what we're going to do and how we're going to keep older trucks. So I really don't think we're in a position where we're going to lose anything here. I just think we're putting ourselves in the best position to continue to be able to do the maintenance that we need to do.
So the final question is, did you look at other companies? Or is this group the only truck company?
Well, I mean, certainly if we wanted to change our fleet, again, the decision was made probably about 12 years ago, and that was with our fleet department and management at that time, to try to move into the Western Star model for a number of reasons. We like the way they're constructed, they're durable. There's a lot of different reasons.
Okay.
I'm hesitant because of one hiccup to just kind of move aside from a product that we're very happy with. And
So the entire fleet is Western Star?
2/3 of our fleet now is probably Western Star.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, in our other communities that use different products, we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're just not available.
Got it. Thank you.
Further discussion. I have a question. So what are we approving? Are we approving a verbal commitment, or are we approving an amendment to the budget?
This would be approving an amendment to the budget, and that would give Scott the budgetary authority that when it is time to get an agreement in writing, that the budget is there, he can move forward, getting that in writing, and then bringing that back to the village board for approval.
We're agreeing to borrow in 2023, $460,000 for 2 patrol trucks?
You're planning to agree. If you budget for 2 of them in 22 for delivery in 2023, then you would need to borrow for those in 2023.
We budgeted for 1 in 2022.
Correct.
And the commitment would be, okay, we might also purchase another one in 2023, though it hadn't gone through the committee of the whole discussion decide that. So we're already pre-deciding it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm asking is I've seen a patrol truck swing either way, depending on the year and other costs where we've deferred. It's not always a great idea, but we've done it. So I'm just a little hesitant in committing to two when we really haven't taken it through the normal discussion route. One we already approved. That's fine. I'm fine with one. It's that second one that we're pretty much guaranteeing for 2023, where before we've always discussed it and it's always been kind of put against the whole of whatever else is needed in 2023. We're already taking that now and saying, okay, this 230,000 is already designated for. Trustee Kaminsky.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your concern, but I think in all the time I've been on the board, at least in the past 10 years now, there's been 1 year we deferred buying a patrol truck. And that was when the economy took a dive, if I recall correctly. It was probably 2009, 9 or 10, somewhere in that neighborhood. Because we know, and we have seen the PowerPoint every year about the necessity for replacing these trucks one at a time to keep the fleet operational, especially as this village grows, especially as these new subdivisions come in and we have new roads. I do not see us going a year, at least not in the near future, without purchasing a patrol truck. And where I do agree, this is a very unusual way to look at this. You basically have the entire board here, so you have your committee of the whole, essentially, that this is something I feel is important enough. What I'm hearing here is that if we don't sign up now, forget about it, we might end up missing 2 years.
We may, and to your point, Trustee Kaminsky, about the expansion of the village and routes, there will come a day where we have a difficult discussion about when do we want to add another route and how are we going to do that? Are we going to add another employee? And of course, that employee is going to have to drive a truck. And so if we have a model year up for replacement at that year and we want to add a route, we could be looking at that, which would only compound this issue if we put it off.
We don't have an agreement, we have an understanding. And to me, that's different because they're just saying, okay, well, we'll put you down for 2. Now they come up and they only get 10. As a good business, it goes to the highest bidder of whoever wants to come forward. I'd want something a little firmer than, well, you're a good customer of ours, so we promise you 2. That's only where I get a little bit hesitant on this commitment. Because it really is just a promise. It's not an agreement. It's just saying, we'll hold you for 2.
If I could, and I think this is the first time that they shared with us, that this is the first time they've ever done this. They had signed purchase orders and agreements with area communities for these 9 trucks that they were able to commit to. And that raw material surcharge, when the manufacturer came out with that, they went back to those people at that time and said, hey, we can't do anything about it. It's going to cost this much more. I just think we're in very unprecedented times. And again, I'm happy to do whatever we decide to do here tonight. I'm just looking to put us in the best place we can be.
So with our agreement then, are we agreeing to them borrow the 460 as a number for next year? And then you're going to take out and the actual amendment to the budget is to remove the borrowing for this year's truck?
Well, the action related to this year's borrowing will take place when we come forward this spring with the borrowing authorization. That's when you'll see that it'll be $200,000 less than what you saw in the budget. And again, the $460,000 is a budgeted amount. The actual amount that we end up borrowing in 2023 will depend on what the actual cost is. So if it does come in, let's say that they say, well, all right, we know we told you we were going to give you 2 trucks, but we're only going to give you 1. Then the borrowing will be for $230,000. If the supply chain issues get worse and, God forbid they come back and say, we don't have any trucks available for you and we can't find any place else to get any other trucks, we won't borrow any of the money in 2023, and we'll figure out how to get along with what we have. So this is the first step in the process of creating the budgetary authority And then the next step will be getting the agreement in place, a contract in place for the actual purchase, which would happen late in the year when they're planning for their 2023 deliveries.
Okay. Further discussion? Trustee Myers.
This is just one of these times that we've heard this evening, and we read about it all the time in the paper as such. I agree with your philosophy that you have, Dean. It makes sense on a normal basis, but because this world, I can't explain to you. Every time somebody goes to a different contractor on something, they got a problem. They don't have the product. The raw materials doesn't have the products, or they don't have a finished product. That's just the way things are, and it's unfortunately that we're in this situation because of the virus, for the most part, that I think is
Right.
causing a lot of these problems.
But I want to make sure as stewards of the residents' taxes that we also are doing them the best service in regards to not only spending, but also for future borrowing that goes against the tax levy. So those are my concerns as well. And I understand it's unprecedented, but at the same time, that just makes me more cautious, not less. Trustee Jan Miller.
What is the possibility that we would even get a truck this year? Is there any possibility?
No, they're sold out. We will not, we will, we
Okay.
will take delivery of our truck from the 2021 budget at
Right.
some point during this year, last year's budget. The truck that we just talked about in November as a group, they're gone.
Okay. So is there a problem with us just keeping the budget the way it is? Because we already have budgeted for one truck. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it gets carried over to 2023.
But where this is different is it's borrowing.
Oh,
It's
well,
not part of property tax general fund. It's for capital funding. So we would be
Does-
borrowing for it.
so does it matter when we borrow it? Is there a
Yes.
deadline? Okay.
In regards to what
The
the
April-
village administrator said, how we can't hedge our borrowing to pay less the following year against any increase in interest rates.
And if I could add, it makes a difference from the budget because we can't order more trucks than we have budgetary authority. So if the board gives budgetary authority to try to order one truck, we can try to order one truck, and that's what we'll do. That's what's in the budget, and that's what we'll do. If the board gives authority to try to order two trucks, we'll try to order two trucks. And then as the village president mentioned, then we'll borrow whatever we end up being available that we purchase, we'll end up borrowing for that after the order is complete.
Okay. Further discussion? Trustee Nyrider.
I guess, Mr. President, after hearing part of your argument, not argument, but your comments, it's something I guess none of us really thought about at the, or at least made comment of at the recent meeting. And I know that, Western Star, we're not their only loyal customer. So we have no knowledge really of knowing that if 20 trucks come their way, that we're going to be in the top 20. And by them not giving us any kind of a guarantee, depending on so many trucks would come in, we'd be in there. I guess that bothers me as well, because they're asking us to make, they're not asking us, but we have to make an additional financial commitment here. So is there, I guess, to go back to Scott, is there any way of, and they don't need to know this tonight, do they, that, is there any way to go back to them and ask for more of a verbal commitment, depending on how many trucks become available? And I'm sure they probably can't tell you that number, but at least to say that if, 20 trucks were to come in, we'd be in that category, which would probably give us a little bit better feeling. And hopefully things will get better before that time. The other question I have is that I know we don't like to look at it, but do we ever go to the possibility of used equipment? And I'm not talking 100,000 miles, but is there anything as far as used equipment with low usage, hours, mileage, or whatever that could possibly be available as well for us during the year 2022 to spend, to use the budget money that we have?
In answer to your first question, if we as a group decide that's the way we want to go tonight with trying to receive more of a written commitment, and I'm happy to go ask. I don't think we're going to get it. And again, I'm just here trying to put us in the best possible position we can be in from an operations standpoint. As far as your second question goes, I would be hesitant. I have a third of my fleet that's already used, very used, and I'd be hesitant to add a used vehicle because I think we're just compounding the issue of older vehicles down the road. It might be a solution for today, but as that's aging closer to some of the other vehicles aging, we could be in that same position where we're looking for more than one vehicle in the same budget year down the road.
And I understand the concept of going after used equipment, but there's a possibility that you could sit here in 2023 and still end up getting nothing.
There is. There's no question about that.
And again, nobody has a crystal ball here. That's what makes this decision really hard to make.
Yep, I certainly understand. I mean, I certainly understand that.
I know you're in a tough position.
And
I know the concept of used equipment, but it may come down to but
Further discussion? No further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Myers?
Aye.
Trustee Hudson?
Aye.
Trustee Baum? Trustee Kaminsky? Trustee Rick Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller? Trustee Nightrider?
no.
Trustee Pieper? Aye. President Walter?
Nay.
Motion carried.
Thank you, everyone.
Next item under new business is Concord Road stop sign.
We have Chief Snow is online. This was an item that went before the Public Safety Committee. If you'd like staff to give some background, Chief Snow is available online. The Larry Ratajczyk, Public Works Director, is here. Scott Anderson, Superintendent of Highway Buildings and Grounds, could answer any questions.
Sir, do you wish to make a comment in regards to this? Can you wait until we get to the discussion part and then I can bring you forward? I appreciate that. Thank you. Chief Snow.
Good evening. I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yep.
This was brought before public safety, and we'd seen it in public safety a few years ago, I think, with the petition to have a stop sign at that location. We checked, I understand the concern there with that stretch of road, but we did check accident history at that location, and pretty minimal the last couple of years. I think 2 in 20 that were property damaged. There was a bus accident in that area in 21. But given kind of, following best practices, we did not recommend stop signs in that area simply because I don't think it's going to necessarily achieve what the residents are hoping it's going to achieve. I don't know that it decreases accidents any less than what is already happening over there. Again, I understand the concerns about speed. I just would like to look at extra patrol, things of that nature, as opposed to the signage, which I just don't know is the answer that everyone is looking for.
Okay. Thank you. Board? I'll bring them up during discussion.
Make a motion to, where are we at here?
Item B.
Item B, Concord Road stop sign. Make a motion to approve the stop signs as presented.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Sir, would you like to come forward? And to state your name and your address for the record would be appreciated. And we'll turn the microphone on and try to talk as directly as you can to the microphone. That one does give us some issues, and sometimes people that are listening at home can't hear.
That's not a problem. My name is Jeremy Wilson. I live at N98W16988 Concord Road, which is the property right on the corner of Concord and Nigbor, where this is the question about. The biggest concern I have is that we brought this about in 2019. We didn't hear anything for a couple months, which is understandable with everything going on. I talked to the civil engineer from the village. He told me that they were going to be doing new paving. He said maybe we could do, before we lay the final layer of pavement on that section of road, we could do a speed table or something, try to help with the speeds, try to help control. The backstory of why this happened is, yes, there have been no vehicle collisions, or I take that back, one vehicle collision right outside the house back in 2020. But we have multiple kids in the neighborhood, and people treat this section of road as a personal thoroughfare and mini highway. The speed limit is 25. They go easily 35, 45. I have seen kids jump out of the way into the culvert because people do not pay attention and just whip down this road. My kids have been within 5 feet of getting run over because somebody in a pickup truck, after picking up their kids from the school, were almost hit. And I watched that. We have lots of new people coming into Germantown, into the area. There's been a population change for our road. And with more kids, there's no sidewalks. There's no areas for them to walk really in the grass through the yards. It's just the culverts, and they don't want to walk in that in people's yards. There's no safe way to truly get out of the way and to watch out for these. Now, granted, yes, our kids have to be mindful of the cars, just like the cars have to be mindful of them. I understand what the chief is saying, that yes, there has not been any accidents or minor accidents with cars, but that's with cars. If something isn't done just to try to deter it a little bit, what's going to happen when a vehicle meets a child or a biker? I run. I have to stay in shape for the military. I run on that road all the time when I'm able to. I want to be sure that everybody can enjoy that same thing that I have and be safe doing it. So I don't know if the stop sign is the best answer. When we put out the petition, we had everybody from the section of road from Donjas Bay and Concord all the way to the edge of the curve where you'd make a left-hand turn to go to the school, or right-hand turn to head toward back onto Q. Everybody but one signed the petition saying we want this looked into. The one person that did not sign the petition, she just did not come to the door every time we answered. I don't know if she thought we were just solicitors or what, but I think that's a pretty strong statement that the populace wants something looked at and something done because people aren't paying attention. And again, I don't know if stop signs are the answer. We're just looking for something to try to help. And I know I've talked to one patrolman about 2 months ago when our mailbox was hit. We didn't file an official police report because he goes, there's no cameras right here. You're not going to be able to find out who did it because my cameras were blocked by trees. He's like, I can see the skid marks. I can see where somebody obviously tried to take that corner, something like that. We're not going to find it probably. He said he would be willing to try to look at new patrols and more of them. I'm more than willing for that, but I'd like to see something more done if possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Further discussion?
Mr. President,
Village Administrator.
if I could just add a little bit to what Chief Snow said, and we met briefly, Chief Snow, Public Works Director, the Highway Superintendent, and I this morning just to walk through this issue. And I think, staff definitely hears the concerns, and, I think it is something that we do need to spend some time looking into. I think that hearing from, the Public Works Director and looking at it from a traffic engineering perspective, looking at the engineering guidelines, which I can't speak on very articulately as other staff can, but it does not meet the criteria that are used. And I think the concern from staff was that the stop signs are not an effective way of controlling speed. And this one suggestion would be to refer this back to Public Works and ask staff to look into what alternatives might be to try to address the speed issue most effectively.
Trustee Hudson.
This neighborhood came forward in 2019 and this village did nothing. I'm not really interested in waiting around and looking for the best solution. The people who live in this area deserve some progress to the needs that they have expressed to us. And I think as a village board, we owe that to them.
Trustee Jan Miller.
I agree with Trustee Hudson. This came forward in 2019, and there's a petition. That's a lot of people. We're not asking for the people are not asking for 4 stop signs. There's 2 stop signs there already. We're just adding 2. There can't be any harm to adding a stop sign. Good there. I would vote for this.
Trustee Nyrider.
I concur that, you know, the village is guilty of not following through on this. But I'm also happy to hear Mr. Wilson say that it sounds like you're open to alternatives. And I personally don't think the stop sign is going to be the answer there. I think it's going to be give you a fix that you're putting a lot of faith in that may not work. I still would rather see it go back to village engineering, DPW, whatever, put a timetable on it and have it come back to this board in say 30 or 45 days. It shouldn't take them that long to come up with an answer here. But I'd rather see, let's do the right thing instead of putting something in that sounds like it might be a Band-Aid, may not work. It may, but you know, I'm hearing that you're open to some suggestions there.
We are open to it. The only caveat I can say to what you just talked about, sir, was in talking to the civil engineer, that's what he proposed. He's like, before we put on the final layer, let's look at, and I will get back with you. Let's try to maybe put in a speed table there and set it for a certain speed. Yes, it might make some people unhappy because you go over that speed, you could damage your vehicle. And then we heard nothing. And then we had the final layer put on, which that would be a much more impactful and expenditure for the village now that you have a full paved road to try to redo something like that. So like I said, I understand that there's 2 stop signs there already, which is going on the short legs. The one long leg is where we're having the issues. And if the stop sign is wrong, so be it. But yes, let's please find something that we could try to do.
Further discussion. Director Ratachik, would you like to add anything to this, or would you rather defer to Mr. Anderson? Sorry, I didn't see him. I didn't see your hand. It's not closed. You can talk after Mr. Ratachik does.
You can go first. You can go first.
So I don't know if you guys remember Park Avenue and the residents on Park Avenue that have been begging for years and years and years and years to do something about the speeding there because people come flying in off of Fond du Lac Avenue going south on Park. I sat with a radar detector myself in a lawn chair with Trustee Wing and clocked people going 45 on that little short stretch. I understand that Concord, I understand the speeding, I understand your concern. I genuinely do. I don't think putting a stop sign on Concord and Nigbur would stop it because it's just that short stretch in between Division, Nigbur. As soon as if you put a stop sign there, they're going to continue to fly down Concord because that's the longest stretch, because there's a long stretch. Putting a stop sign right there isn't going to stop them from speeding on that long stretch. I do think that there are other options that should be looked into. I do know that residents on Park Avenue are still waiting for a solution to the speeding there. They were promised one of those blinking signs. Remember, didn't we just take one down off of Freistadt?
Oh, there was a different, there's a different concern there, and it has to do with Highway 45 in the state.
No, correct. But they literally wanted just one of those blinking, slow down, this is the speed limit.
That I don't remember.
And it was there for a little bit. They were so thankful. And then all of a sudden it was gone the next week. So maybe for the time being, maybe some of these trustees can go get the radar detectors and sit down in the lawn chair with hats and gloves and
That's,
parkas and blankets and, start clocking. See, we're allowed to check out radars.
but it's,
Let's do some data. Let's sit and watch. I mean, I'm not going to do it because it's winter and I hate being cold, but I did on Park Avenue in summer and I'll do it in summer on Concord. I have no problem.
the speed board can track for us if that's a solution that we want to look at. It doesn't
See it,
require
though,
a body
and they
to sit
slow
there.
down.
The speed board will track how many people are beyond the speed limit.
But they slow down when they see that.
So we did that on Park Avenue. We put the police department
And it
speed
picked
board
up
out there.
nothing.
It wasn't lit up detecting and showing the speed. It was just there kind of like inconspicuously. And we recorded speed there, is it over a month, Scott? And the average speed there was 25 miles an hour where the board was.
As a clarifier, we did not put out the speed board. We put out one of our speed detection signs and had the speed turned off. So we were just collecting data. This was just discussed about Park Avenue. And while we did have some speeds that were in excess of the speed limit, I believe the 87th percentile speed at that time when we collected that data was 27 miles an hour. So just 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. And again, we could do that same thing. If we can find an area to put one of those speed limit collection data signs, it's a little bit more inconspicuous than the police board, and we can be collecting data without people knowing.
I think that's a great start.
Through Tochick.
I'd like to add too, when we had discussions on the variations of what we could have done to control traffic on Freistadt and Maple, that intersection that's now being rebuilt with traffic lights. I remember and I'm not a traffic engineer, but I remember this discussion coming up where putting a four-way stop there was totally not recommended, because when you put a four-way stop, you have an inherent feeling of security that all cars will stop at that intersection. And it's not always true. On the main thoroughfare of Concord, if you put a stop sign there, traffic engineers will tell you that it's not the best solution, because it gives a false sense of security for people in that area that all the cars will stop completely and not go through the intersection. So we're dealing with several different aspects here. I think if we want to see what the speed is it really the speed or just people not paying attention when they're driving? We can detect the speed and come up with an average speed there and read it for a couple months. And with this detector, these are the ones we had on Freistadt Road for a while to try to slow people down. And they're very small, they're very inconspicuous really to put out there.
Trustee Rick Miller.
I'd like to make a motion to amend to push this back to Public Works for further investigation before we take any action.
Motion made and seconded to amend the motion to defer it back to Public Works
Correct.
for further investigation. Discussion on the motion to amend.
There's just too many unknowns right now, and we shouldn't put a sign up just to put a stop sign up. We need to investigate this and make sure that it's done the right way.
Trustee Ball.
If you go down the route of a speed table, I've got 3 other roads that people are calling about as well. So we're gonna start putting speed tables throughout the village, just because everybody's speeding everywhere. So I'd rather find a right solution than just start putting speed tables everywhere.
What, can someone describe for me what a speed table is exactly?
A speed bump that is 3, 4, 5 feet wide. So you go up a hump, flat, down a hump, instead of just a bump. Table is a longer distance.
And they're designed for the speed of that road to slow you down.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hudson?
I don't discount what any of the trustees are saying tonight. Unfortunately, that discussion should have taken place about 2.5 years ago, and it didn't. That finding the right solution is also critically important, but there is nothing that stops us from putting up a stop sign while we're searching for the correct solution. This is what the citizens of our community want. This is what the people of that neighborhood are asking for. And we're going to say no while we waste another year looking for the right solution? We blew that. Let's move on this.
Further discussion on a motion to amend. Trustee Kaminsky?
I think it's correct to send this back to committee and find the correct solution. You put up a stop sign, and I know I've been through these conversations with police chiefs in the past. What is going to happen is exactly what was stated here. You have a sense of security. There's a stop sign. So now the kids can cross the street. They can ride their bikes across the street. And one of these speeding cars is going to come flying through there, unaware that a stop sign was put up or totally oblivious. And you will have somebody killed a lot quicker that way than you will currently by speeding people down Concord, where people know they're. Let the committee decide. I agree with Chief Snow. He's been in this business for a while, and I defer to him and the Public Safety Committee to come up with the right solution. I have no problem with setting some type of a timeline on that. I would hope that we'd have this resolved by spring, by April.
Further discussion. Trustee Jan Miller?
I think these people have waited long enough. There's a majority of the people that want a stop sign. Why can't we put up a temporary stop sign with little flags? Communities do that all the time with flashing lights. Traffic is changing. Lit signs that say, beware, there's a traffic change. There are lots of things that you can do temporarily while the test is being made. And I think we should get back to this community on Concord in 30 days. Because they were promised a solution and they didn't get it in 2019 or 2020. It's 2022. Thank you.
I want a clarification on that promise. I think there was a mention of a discussion with a village engineer that discussed the possibility, but nothing came before this board. No promise was made or voted on. So, a discussion with village staff is hard to track. Not that I'm calling anybody a liar, because I'm not, but to put it to the point of where the village promised, I think it was more of an open discussion. And when I look at village promise or how this board failed the residents, I would look at it as us voting to do something and not doing something. That we subjected funds to get it taken care of in the construction season of 2019, and for whatever reason it didn't get done because there was other projects that delayed it. That to me would be a false or a promise not held. A conversation. It doesn't fall for me into that classification, because there are a lot of alternatives we could do, but until one's discussed and planned and budgeted for, it's not really in this sense a promise made. So I just don't like the way that is thrown around a little bit strong, but I understand the argument and appreciate the passion. Further discussion. Further discussion is on the motion to amend to defer it back to public safety for additional possible solutions.
Actually, I said Public Works. Is that the proper?
Is that what you said? Public Works or public safety? Okay.
Public Works.
All right, my error. Public Works.
Well, what's the proper committee to review this?
In,
Go ahead.
in my opinion, I would suggest Public Works. I think this is a traffic engineering issue, and obviously there need to be some police department input, but I think this should go to engineering and have them take a look at it.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion to amend? Trustee Myers,
Why did it go to public safety? Why didn't it go to public works?
because it's an engineering discussion on road construction,
Originally, why did it go to public safety?
because it was a stop sign.
He signed a,
I would be he.
Trustee
Hudson.
Trustee Hudson submitted an agenda form.
Well, you
to
had
get
a
it on.
time.
Public safety for a stop sign.
Somebody had a point of considering where to put it at that time. Could have went to public works. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I think there's more public safety, but I understand now it's more into the engineering again, but that's fine.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion to amend?
Could we put a-
Trustee Chan Miller.
Thank you. Could we put a timeline on this, please? Can we amend the motion to put a timeline on?
You can,
30 days?
I'm going to defer to the village attorney.
Certainly, you could make a motion to include that time frame. Typically, given that we have a motion to amend, that would be something that would be done after. So we'd amend it, and then you could make a motion to amend that amended motion to add the time frame. I would suggest, and I understand the concerns about it's been since 2019 and everything else. 30 days is not likely sufficient time to get what needs to be done.
What is?
Certainly 60, I think probably is closer, because you're going to want to have, the speed sign out there, the data, that kind of stuff. And to do that in 30 days is tight.
Further discussion on a motion to amend? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. Back to the motion as amended. Further discussion? Trustee Jan Miller.
I'd like to amend the amendment.
You'd be amending the motion as amended, but that's fine.
Amended. Thank you. To add a 60-day time frame, please.
And you'd like the time frame to be
60
60 days?
days.
That is your motion to amend?
That's my motion to amend.
Okay.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded to place a time frame to come with a solution by 60 days. Okay? Discussion on that motion to amend. Trustee Baum.
I'm not sure if even 60 days is enough. I just, the amount of time to gather the information and to digest the information and to come up with a solution, I'm not sure if 60 days is enough. So I won't support 60, but I'm not sure what the right number is. 90, 120, I don't know. Is there a better time frame?
The attorney wouldn't be a decision. I would have more or less asked Mr. Ratajczyk because it's going to go onto his department.
From a process perspective, we could report back to Public Works in 60 days and give a progress report.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That
fine.
seems
That's it.
fair.
Yeah.
Further discussion on the motion to amend. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Back to the motion as amended. Further discussion.
We have a restatement of the,
The motion as amended is to bring it back to Public Works for, to discuss further solutions and to come forward to the Public Works Committee with a possible solution in 60 days of the next Public Works meeting, which is when?
February 1st.
February 1st, and this will be on the agenda for February 1st then? Okay. Well, then 60 days would bring it forward in April. First meeting in April for Public Works. At that time, that would put a hiatus on the stop sign. So if you vote in favor of this, you are bringing it back to Public Works with a 60-day time frame. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed, raise your hands. 2 opposed. Motion carries.
Opposed.
3 opposed, I'm sorry. Motion carries. Next item under new business, and thank you, sir, for coming. We appreciate your input. Resolution 03-2022, Germantown Professional Police Association Local 306 contract.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion, input.
I guess I won't really say anything unless somebody wants an overview of this resolution, but it's just to approve the contract that the village has with the police union. There's a couple large changes. One would be that they're getting their holidays back. And because of that, they're agreeing to a 1% increase this year, a 2.5% increase in 23 and 24.
Okay. Further discussion. Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, this came through General Government and Finance tonight and was voted or approved unanimously.
Thank you. Further discussion. No further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Myers,
Excused. Abstained.
Trustee Baum, Trustee Hudson,
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky, Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Nightrider,
Aye.
Trustee Pieper.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm not mad at you, dear.
Next item under new business is item D, Resolution 04-2022, rescind a portion of the 2021 real estate or real property taxes GTNV 234-001-046 within the reserve at Renwood.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. This involves.
I can report on this. This item went through General Government and Finance prior, and the first resolution has to do with the reserve at Renwood. Their clubhouse was on the tax roll on the main portion, and then also among all of the other tax bills as well. And so this comes to us from the assessor. We have 2 options. One is to go through the board as it is now, and the other option is to wait until Board of Review. But the thought was to bring it forward quicker rather than later.
Okay.
And for this one, the amount will be charged back to the other taxing jurisdictions. So we won't see that money back right away, but it will be charged back to the other jurisdictions.
We have a motion, right?
Yes,
All right.
a motion is second. Yep.
Further discussion. No further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kaminsky, Trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Myers, still in the hallway, Trustee Nightrider,
Aye.
Trustee Pieper,
Aye.
Trustee Baum, Trustee Hudson,
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item under new business is new business item E, resolution. Is that what we just did? No.
No, they're very similar.
Right. Resolution 05-2022, rescind a portion of the 2021 personal property taxes for GTNV PB 344-001-93.
Motion to approve new business item E.
Right, and this is very similar to the previous item, except this is personal property tax rather than real estate. It would not be charged back to the other taxing jurisdictions. The amount is just over $100. And this is a business that has moved out of the village and had communicated or thought they had communicated to the assessor, but there must have been a timing or a miscommunication between the two. So this is to fix that error as well.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion to approve? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Pieper.
Aye.
Trustee Baum. Trustee Hudson.
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Myers, still in the hallway.
Abstaining.
Trustee Nightrider,
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. New business item F, Resolution 06-2022, establishing an Independence Day Committee.
Motion to approve new business item F.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion or explanation?
This is
Village
exciting.
Administrator.
I'll just say this is, as I think as everybody is aware, a follow-up to a presentation that Gilletta Kirpon from Kiwanis made a few months ago about the challenges that they've had in finding volunteer support for the Independence Day celebrations that occur in the village. Back at that time, the board expressed an interest in forming a new committee to try to expand the reach. This would be the first step in doing that. I'd say for anybody who's listening, and we would definitely, if this is approved tonight, try to get word out in social media, the village website, other methods to try to identify people who are interested in participating and volunteering, so that the village is able to enjoy the same level of activities and fun on the 4th of July as we have in the past.
Further discussion? What is it recommended to be as part of that committee currently? Is it just the establishing of, and then the framework comes from there?
This would be an establishment, and I think, looking to identify people who are willing and able to participate in the committee.
Okay. Further discussion? Recommendations? Volunteers?
I recommend President Dean Walter to be on the committee.
I'll
You
be on
don't
the
want me
committee.
there.
I'll second.
This is not a motion. Trustee Jan Miller.
Do we have the framework for what was done in the past from the chamber?
We would have their help. They've had said that they would be willing to help transfer that knowledge and give us that that input for help on that first year. Yes.
They don't want the 4th of July to die. They definitely don't. They'd offer all the knowledge and wisdom and resources that they had access to, for sure.
I think that we should get it out on social media, newspapers, get it out on the EMC board, looking for volunteers. Perhaps we can call on the Germantown Community Library to post something in their lobby, like a sign-up sheet, or on other websites that we have through the village communities.
If by chance there was a reporter from a local newspaper, perhaps listening to the meeting online, might express that it would really be great to see a small note encouraging people who might be interested to contact the village.
One could only hope that there is a
headline
reporter of the local newspaper listening and making notes.
Perhaps we could send an email to said reporter.
And I will follow up with Mr. McKillen and appreciate his coverage on the village from all the other issues as well.
Great.
Further discussion? Trustee Myers.
Being a Kiwanis member as such, understanding in regard to this, I would be welcome to be a volunteer for this committee as such. And I will talk to the owner of the paper tomorrow to put an article in the paper. So you don't have to do that, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Myers. Trustee Jan Miller.
I volunteered last year, so I will help volunteering
Thank
for
you,
4th of
Trustee
July.
Miller. Appreciate that very much. And Trustee Myers, thank you. Further discussion?
I'm in.
Trustee Hudson,
The
thank you.
first year is the easy year.
The first year is the
If they're gonna help
framework
out.
year.
Yeah, that's the easy year. I'm not a fool.
I appreciate that very much. Further discussion? We're on a roll here. Before you know it, it'll be the whole board. No, I'm just kidding. No further discussion? All those in favor? Well, we could look at Economic Development Committee. Further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Not opposed. Motion carries. Thank you all for your input and for your volunteerism. Next two items are closed sessions, starting with item G, acquisition of property in the area of the intersection of Donjas Bay and Wasaki Roads for the new Department of Public Works facility. Village Board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate. And item H, Director of Public Works Retirement Agreement. The Village Board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph C for considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and then may reconvene in the open session to take such action as it deems appropriate.
Motion to approve new business G and H and go into closed session. Do they need to go in order? Who needs to be here?
Who's the recommendation to be here for item G?
I'd recommend for G, the Public Works Director, the village attorney, and myself.
Okay, what about the village clerk?
She may go.
She can go home.
All right, and item H?
The village attorney and myself.
Okay.
I think you need a second, right, or no?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We'll start with item G. Can I have roll call vote for item G, please?
Trustee Pieper.
Aye.
Trustee Hudson. Trustee Baum. Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Myers. Trustee Nightrider.
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Roll call for item H.
For item H, Trustee Pieper. Trustee Baum. Trustee Hudson. Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Myers. Trustee Nightrider.
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, before we go into closed session, the next regular village board meeting will be on Monday, February 7th at 7 p.m. And also do not forget the special village board and Village of Richfield listening session on January 27th to be held at the Germantown Performing Arts Center at 6 p.m. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night.
And Trustee Kaminsky had let us know that the Public Works meeting would be on February 1st. February 1st, not February 8th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, turn off your microphone.